a Netflix original film.
The Wi-Fi isn't working.
In the event of a global communications breakdown, do the following. Stay inside.
What just happened here is happening everywhere.
Avoid strangers.
We've all been deserted.
I don't trust them.
And most importantly, do not panic. Julia Roberts.
What happens next?
Mahershala Ali.
I knew something was coming.
Leave the World Behind. Rated R. In select theaters now and on Netflix December 8th.
Today on CityCast Chicago, we've got updates on the city's latest corruption trial, election season gets underway, and holiday pop-ups that'll help you cope with all that cold and dark outside your window. Executive producer Simone Alisaya and I are here to break it all down. It's Tuesday, November 28th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Morning, Simone.
Good morning, Jacoby. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm already at that point of the week. It's already Tuesday, but I'm looking at them Ziploc bags of leftovers, them plastic bags of leftovers in the fridge. And I'm like, it's time to get rid of them. It's time to get rid of them already. What about you?
Already? I don't know. I've actually eaten all of my leftovers, but that's because I took enough for exactly one person and then I ate them. I really planned it out accordingly.
We went to 2 Thanksgivings, so we came back with double the amount of leftovers. So, yeah, I'm at that point already. But as I'm staring at my window right now, the snow flurries are trying to creep on down in my neighborhood. And so we need to talk about something so I don't have to pay attention to this. Let's start off with an update on the trial of former Alderman Ed Burke. It's now in its 4th week. Simone, what have we learned so far? This has been billed for years and years as the biggest, the all-encompassing, sort of the big tuna of corruption trials. Where are we about a month in?
Tuna reference there to one of the tapes that has come out in which Burke is heard saying something like, "Did we land the tuna?" in reference to what is assumed to be a reference to some kind of bribe, pay to play.
Right. The prosecutors want you to believe that. That's it is
the
right
phrase.
there. That's how he
the phrase.
moves.
Yes. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they're the broad strokes, I think of what people may remember about what this trial is about sort of remain the same. The prosecution has been laying out its case that Burke, who was an alderman for 54 years, was the longest serving alderman in Chicago's history, engaged in various schemes that would enrich his private tax law firm in exchange for using his clout in city council to get certain developments through. And there are sort of 4 big schemes that the prosecution is laying out. So far, the jury has heard about 2 of them. They've heard about the renovation of Burger King in his ward on the southwest side along Pulaski. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the broad strokes of all these things, I think people have heard about over the past couple of years, especially since, the FBI raided his offices in late 2018. And as, the indictment came down and as we've been preparing for this trial. But it's just those details. So, for example, with the Burger King thing, the prosecution presented these photos of Burke inside the Burger King kind of holding court with, the franchisee who was looking to renovate and who then opted to hire Burke's firm to do some of these property tax appeals and things like that. And it's just sort of this interesting it's like a very interesting photo to see this like very powerful man holding court in a Burger King. It's like a rundown Burger King. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird thing.
In a Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah. It's big Pollos Hermanos vibes from Breaking Bad for sure. More testimony on that is expected this week. There was another delay on Monday because an attorney had contracted COVID. This is the second time an attorney has contracted COVID, and there were sort of some delays in the trial so far.
The attorneys got sick. The dogs have gotten sick. This has been the delays, a lot of it around health. So no shocks here, but also like it's kind of slowing the process down a bit.
It is. The dogs, these are the therapy dogs at the federal courthouse in Chicago. And yeah, one of the dogs got into a juror's bag and ate something they weren't supposed to eat and got sick. And it's just, again, it's just a weird turn. We talked about this trial with Heather Sharon when it first started from WTTW. And right, this is a man who, like I said, was the longest serving alderman in Chicago, like couldn't get anything done without his say so. This is a very very powerful person in Chicago. And yet there are sort of all these like weird little hijinks and little elements that are just coming out. So, for example, the other thing that the jury has heard about is this sort of what happened at the Field Museum. And, Burke had wanted to get an internship for the daughter of one of his colleagues. That person did not get an internship. And then when someone from the Field Museum wanted Burke to support this fee rate hike, Burke, and there's a recording of this that was played as well, sort of exploded, and was really upset and said basically, something to the effect of like, I could get this thing killed, right? We could, this fee rate hike that you want. And it sent, the Field Museum, like former officials for the museum testified that they were like trying to do everything they could to make Burke happy to like get this thing.
Immediately sent an email like, we might have a problem.
Yeah.
Which this situation compared to like the Burger King is in his ward.
Yeah.
He didn't even directly see over if this $2 hike would get instituted at the Field Museum. It goes through the park district.
It's not even a city council thing. Yeah.
He was like, but I can make a call to the park board and we get this thing cleaned up. We'll get this scrapped. And so the idea that you had people at one of the most illustrious museums in the world, that's the kind of clout he carried, that officials at even our museums outside of his purview still were like, we need to make this individual happy. We need to make sure he, isn't going around speaking ill will about the museum.
And the defense on cross-examination, basically, those same former Field Museum officials said, no, there was no direct sort of order, right? That you have to do this or else, right? Like, and, similarly on the Burger King thing, these are kind of the hints of what we're getting so far from the defense's case. Again, the defense hasn't presented their case yet. The judge says that this trial, aiming to wrap this up before Christmas, before the holidays. I will say, I think, so, what I'm sort of garnering from as these details are coming out, corruption is actually not that sexy, right?
Mm-mm. Especially at this level when, like, there are no quote-unquote literal smoking guns. Like, a lot of this is just, like, influence. Like, he steps in a room and it's like, what I want accomplished here. You know what I've done. And so, yeah, it ends up looking very boring. And it's just like his power created a sort of sense of obligation from many of these people. So it never looks like he has to like, puff his chest out. He's just like, I'm Burke, so things will go the way I want.
Well, and especially because, right, this trial is focusing on sort of relatively recent schemes, right? Burke in office for decades and decades and, involved in so many aspects of city life for so long. But of course.
And we talk about Burger King's $2 fee hikes at the museum.
At the museum.
The old post office.
The old post office, a Binny's beverage. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like, why on earth do we care about the renovation of a Burger King or even of the old post office? Like, who cares? But it's right. It's not about what these specific things, these sort of specific schemes are, right? It's about what they represent.
Exactly.
And sort of what, to what degree Burke used his office and his power, his position as a city council person to enrich himself. That is sort of the definition and the key question here.
In some cases, it goes to show how many of his bases were covered because they don't have these sort of big moments. They got these small little moments where it's like, maybe you went too far here. Maybe you made a mistake here. You didn't, cross your T's, dot your I's here. And so we're getting you on these cases, hoping that they're, enough to make people question your entire sort of 50 years as a politician. And did you move in other situations similar? And so, yeah, the cases themselves are not sort of awe-inspiring or sort of headline grabbing, but what they may mean for this man is obviously where all the attention is.
And obviously it's what the FBI, was able to get evidence on, right? They got the recordings, they had their informant, former Alderman Danny Solis, right? Like,
we're going to use what we got.
They had the pictures, and so that's where the evidence is. And so that's where the prosecution is going.
This Monday, politicians made their way to Springfield as election season officially kicked off as these candidates were filing to appear on the March 2024 ballot. Simone, what's going to be on the ballot this time around?
Yeah, we got another election coming up. We had a nice little reprieve between.
You're saying that with a smile on your face, but I know you don't actually mean it like that, G. We've covered 50-11 since we started.
We've had a reprieve between since May when we elected a new mayor and other city council members. But now we have the general primary coming up in 2024. That's going to be a presidential primary as well. Most people may be aware. But in addition to that, we will also be voting on judicial positions, including for the Illinois Supreme Court, the General Assembly, so state Senate and state House seats, also congressional seats. Cook County voters will also be voting for a prosecutor. As we know, current state's attorney Kim Foxx said earlier this year that she was not planning to run for re-election. And then also worth noting in Chicago, we will see the Bring Chicago Home referendum. That is the real estate transfer tax. So a tax on the sale of property over $1 million to fund services for those experiencing homelessness. And there might be other referenda on our ballots too, but those are kind of the big ones. In Illinois, the primaries really matter. Illinois, Chicago, Cook County, where Democrats, have sort of solidified their power, who runs in those primaries and who wins those primaries may have a much bigger outcome than some of these matchups in the general election. It's not true everywhere. It's not true in every, suburban county necessarily or across the state, but certainly around Chicago, it's going to be something to watch. Even
though we're not sure on how the elected school board is going to work, will those people eventually be filing during this time to try to get on those, getting that primary as well?
I believe that is actually a November. That's going to be voted on in November. And, as you mentioned, like the General Assembly is still trying to nail down a map for what, and the process, frankly, for what that election is going to look like. I know there are some folks around Chicago who are like, their candidacy is prepared. They're like ready to go. But yeah, that is something voters won't see until November.
So when is the final day? I know a lot of politicians are like really love to get that sort of first day of school picture of them in line to file with their little stack of petitions. In Chicago, when it's mayoral season, they get the rulers out to see how many petitions did you actually get. How long do officials actually have, even if they showed up yesterday?
So candidates have between now and December 4th to submit those petitions. Then there's going to be a period to challenge those petitions. This often happens by opponents. After the challenge period, there will be a lottery on December 13th that will determine ballot order. But of course, the sort of actual primary ballots and like what they look like won't be certified until just before the election, much later.
Well, from the corruption trial from Chicago's longest running alder to Illinois politicians jostling to get their petitions in, I think I had my enough for Illinois politics to start off Tuesday. So maybe let's shift a little bit and talk a little bit more about the holidays right now. I mean, like I said earlier, as I look out my window, it's a little bit darker than usual. It's definitely getting colder. We're going to be down in the teens during nightfall this week.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
And it's probably gonna be wet with the minor snow flurries. It's not sticking too much. I see some windows outside outside that got some snow in it, but it's not sticking to the ground just yet. With all of that being said, this is the time to be thinking about how is Chicago celebrating the holidays, regardless of what holiday you celebrate. Simone, are there any holiday pop-ups you're looking forward to, right? When restaurants, bars, and holiday markets are popping up all over the city?
You know what's wild is every year I am just thoroughly surprised and delighted at how hard Chicago goes for. I mean, I could end that sentence right there, period. But particularly when it's like the darkest and coldest, and like it is. You know, it's hard to like get yourself out of the apartment, and then you see these businesses and these markets that come up, and it is just like, you know what? We're going to be loud. We're going to be decorative. We're going to have music. It's going to be a whole thing. So a couple that piqued my interest was the Mean Girls Christmas pop-up at Brando's, Brando's Speakeasy in Lincoln Park, which is a karaoke bar. And they are doing like if you remember the talent show scene from Mean Girls where they do Jingle Bell Rock, they're doing a Mean Girls Jingle Bell Rock talent show style pop-up. You know, I love Mean Girls as a movie. I just rewatched it recently. I am not sure how.
Are you gonna watch the musical?
I don't know. I mean, I'll probably watch it. Will I like it? That's another question. I don't know. It feels too soon to like the fact that Tina Fey is in. I know she wrote it and everything, but
there are a few people in it, like straight up in it,
and I don't know. I have questions about it, but it does, takes place in Evanston.
I mean, it's almost been 20 years since the first one came out, so
it will be 20 years when it comes out. Yeah,
but it's right. So
yeah, so I guess that's fine.
One of the pop-ups I'm excited for is over at Talia Hall, which finds a way to be like 3 or 4 establishments in one.
I feel like we end up talking about it like twice a month. Like, I feel like they're always doing something really good.
But their Tack Room Piano Bar always gets like full-on holiday decorations. And they've got a great lineup of like little shows you can stop in on in their website. But also, I'm excited for a few holiday markets that are popping up. The Far South Side Holiday Market in Pullman will be going through December. And then Beverly's Holiday Market, even though it's a one-day only affair on December 9th, it's a handmade holiday market. And so all of the things you're going to be seeing were handmade by the people that were there. So just another opportunity to get in, get yourself some mugs, get yourself a last minute ornament for the tree.
One more that really caught my eye because I just love this fable, this tradition. There is going to be a Krampus pop-up at Demon Tap in Avondale.
I knew that's the one you was going for.
How did you know, Jacoby?
I know you, G. I just know you.
For folks who don't know, Krampus is a European, sometimes described as an anti-Santa. Basically, is this big, scary creature that kidnaps bad children. It's better than I feel like it's more intense than Cole in the Stocking. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, he's just got this, like, he's like a weird little kind of devil-looking guy. He's got horns and like a weird tongue, and it's very scary and spooky. It's fun. If I feel like for a lot of people that are like, I don't like Christmas stuff, like Krampus is he's for them. He's a good alternative. Yeah. And Demon Tap in Avondale is going to be doing a Krampus parade. There's going to be kids events and holiday markets. And I just think it starts on December 1st. And I don't know, it just sounds like fun. It's like I said, one of my favorite, like, weird worldly Christmas traditions. And I'm into it. I'm here for it.
To stay up on all the great things happening in Chicago for the holidays, whether it's holiday pop-ups, gift guides, make sure you are tapped in to chicago.citycast.fm. Go ahead and just bookmark us. In the same way that you saved our phone number in your contact information, 773-780-0246, bookmark the website as well. There are plenty of ways to interact with the CityCast Chicago folks, right? You got the podcast, you got the newsletter, you got the website, you could DM us, you could leave a voicemail, you could rate and review us wherever you listen. Maybe just for these holiday season, pick 1, 2, or all of those ways to interact. All right, Simone, I appreciate you making time for us.
Thanks, Jacoby.
And of course, the way we end every single episode with some good news. Films, the Lifeline Theater in Rogers Park is hosting a workshop for writers to adapt their work into plays for the stage. Applications for this workshop are open until December 17th. You can check the link in the show notes. As always, we appreciate you for reading and listening. We're back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace. I mean, it's not necessarily a remake, right? It's the musical version of the movie. But regardless, I guess now I'm starting to get it. Because to see a remake that you fully remember the original for, I'm starting to understand why people a little bit older than me were pissed when things were starting to get remade. Because at first I'm like, why? It's a new generation, let them have it. And then I'm like, Mean Girl, isn't this the same generation? And the answer is no.
No, the answer is no. The answer is straight up no.
I don't know exactly who they think. I mean, they think they were like, this is not your mom's Mean Girl. And I'm like, I don't know. It might.
I think it is exactly your mom's Mean Girl. I think it is.
I think it's exactly.
It is your mom's. It is quite literally your mom's Mean Girl.